Hello out there. We're on the air. Say hello to our co-host today. He tried leaving, but I just started putting my socks on and he came back. Guy loves socks. They aren't? You love them. All right. Well, welcome back. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. I'm a little bit late today. I wouldn't say we had the best morning here. Oh my goodness. It is. When I checked, it was minus 18. Feels like minus 30 with the wind. Probably the most disgusting day I've ever seen. The wind, the cold. It was so bad. Arnie's been here since when? February. This was the first time since he got here that he didn't go outside in the morning for a pee. That's how cold it was. That's how disgusting it was. The whole house was. Wow. You good? He agrees. He agrees. So, anyways, a little bit late today. The hot water just felt way too good. Thinking about a few different things to talk about. So we're gonna have a good show today. It is it's gonna be slightly different than usual. I'm gonna talk about a few things that aren't related to Bitcoin. And as I'm saying this, I just realized that I didn't send that email that I wanted to. Okay, anyways, we're gonna get our shit together here. It is hump day. Arnie's out of here. He's had enough. But it's a daily Bitcoin journey. Another day of it. Actionable, logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. We're going to have some information for both today. Some new Bitcoiner stuff too, because I think it is important right now more than ever to be sharing a few different things. So we're going to talk about a little bit on the show today, and then we're actually going to hop over to the second part of the show where we're going to be doing our fifth episode, maybe sixth episode of the multi-generational wealth series, which has been great. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that course so far. It seems like people are getting quite a bit from it. So we're going to do our next episode today. By the way, before we go any further, I did wear this shirt for a reason today. I want to give a shout out to Eric and Juxtapose. I know that there's a lot of Bitcoin companies out there, and there's going to be more and more to come, especially ones selling like clothes and stuff. But I want you to check this out. I want you to support Eric. He has been a supporter of this show from the very early days, and they make really nice stuff. And so I want to bring up their website here. It takes a lot of bandwidth. You can tell the lag there, but you can see the store here somewhere. So you got some ugly Christmas sweaters. You got some jerseys. These look new. Lightning Network. I like the Zap shirt right here, white and black. And then you got the 21 million somewhere down here and a hoodie. So here's the shirt. Here's the hoodie. Very high quality and a great guy. I've had numerous conversations with Eric through the last couple months. And so make sure support Juxtapose. There's the link in the show notes for that if you want to grab yourself a Bitcoin hoodie, shirt, or an ugly sweater. I don't know. I'm not big into that, but some people are. And I'm pretty sure you can use a code there too. I don't know what the code is. Let me check. Juxtapose. Where is it? Oh, there it is. You get 10% off using the code 88sats. So it says Bitcoin gear from Juxtapose, and you can see the link there and the code in the show notes. Everything you ever need to know. If you want to contact me, if you want some links to different things, my website, my NPub, everything but my driver's license is on there. All right. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time today. I mean, it's going to be a long show, but I want to keep this first part kind of tight. So we got Ginger. Hello out there. We got Josh, morning from Ontario. Jor and Arn looking like we're going to get hit with an Alberta Clipper today. GTA won't be able to cope. Yeah, we're going through that right now. It is nasty outside. Nasty. Like, again, probably the worst weather I've seen in a long time. Arnie's not too happy about something out there. Daniel. Good to see Daniel in the chat in the YouTube. He's usually over in the Zap stream. Is the Zap stream going? Yep. He's over there too. Good morning, Satoshi stackers and corn hodlers. We are in the right timeline. Stay humble, be prepared. Great advice. Parker, morning Bitcoiners. The only day better than yesterday is today. Amen to that. And this was the winner for today of the 88 sats. I forgot to put it up on screen. But Jay is going to be the winner today of the 88 sats. So Jay, I think you've donated some to Arnie before, but let me send you some today. 88 sats, put your Lightning URL in there, and I'll send you your 88 sats, because they're absolutely right. Good morning. If you are here right now, life is good. It's true. Holy, Arnie's up to something again. Man, I don't know what's with that guy. Can you hear that? But anyways, life is good. If you're watching the show right now, if you happen to be sitting in the audience, you're in the right spot. I mean, the title of today's show is that it could not be more obvious. And it's kind of the same thing. You've recognized it. Other people in this chat have recognized it. I've recognized it. Most people haven't, but there lies the opportunity. Duncan, good morning. The man responsible for shutting down the stream yesterday. Buck 52,000. Greetings, humans. Jason is in the chat this morning. Good morning, Jason. And we got Kelvin. Finally made it live. Well, we're glad to have you here today. It is a beautiful day. Although it's horrific outside, it is beautiful in here today. Although my feet are kind of cold. Dale, good morning. How's things in Regina? How's things in the city that rhymes with fun? Joey says, morning, y'all. How cold is it in Canada? It was 35 degrees in... Oh, yeah, you would say that, Joey. 35 degrees in Florida this morning. Enjoying not having swamp ass for the day. So 35, I guess, is not that cold. Let me get you an actual update here on the weather. Okay, so we got minus 17. Feels like minus 26. Nasty. Nasty, nasty weather today. It was windy the whole night. The whole night, the house was just shaking. So I think that's why Arnie's a little bit restless today. I don't think he had the greatest sleep. Pen and paper ready. All right. Well, you got a few things coming your way today. Rick's in the chat. Good morning, Rick. We got 60 people in here and 24 likes. Come on. Rick would not be pleased with those numbers. Rick is our daily reminder for the likes. As irrelevant as they are, we much prefer zaps for sure. And I do want to give a shout out here because there was a couple zaps that came in yesterday, a couple fatties that I want to give a shout out to from this little guy right there. So we do have the YouTube Zap stream today is live. So if you send in a Zap to this QR code, we're going to see it live on the air. You can leave a comment in there. You can make a song request for the Rescue Dog Fund, or you can just send some sats anonymously. But if you don't feel like scanning the QR code, there's Arnie's wallet right there. So we had a pretty big day yesterday, actually, in the Zap stream. We had 69 sats from Tannenbaum, 50 sats. We had 880 sats from Duncan and Sherlock. We had 8,888 sats from Fred, Fifi, and BB. So thank you, Fred. I think that was your second fat zap in the last couple weeks. Appreciate that very much. We had 1,000 sats from Duchess to Arnie and the Rescue Dogs from Lucky the Dog and Duchess. And then we had another 1,000 sats, 88, 1 sat. I mean, that's okay too. I don't mind 1 sat. We know the value of sats around here. And then a 2207, 521, and 100. So thank you to everybody who sent this fella some sats yesterday. Hey, Aaron? Uh-oh, what are you eating? What are you eating? Oh, you can't even see his face. He's licking his lips. Aaron? Fuck. Been misbehaving lately. Oh my God. I think he knows that I can't do anything about it right now. Oh, man. I'm going to have to text Bridge quickly here. So we might have a little bit of mayhem. Hold on. Okay. Fuck. Don't zap him anything today. He doesn't deserve it. I'm going to zap all his sats away too. A better behaved dog. Timber Crasher, good morning. Good to see you, man. Bitcoin Journeyman. See the logo there? Nice to see. I might, oh, there we go. Here, there's the warden. Bitcoin Discovery's in the chat. Good morning. Sachi's in the chat as well from snowy, windy Manitoba. I feel you, man. I feel you. Bitcoin Buddha. And Parker says, congrats on growing the live audience. I remember when there was less than 10 viewers and it was normal. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see. Very good to see. And it's kind of come in a very organic and slow way instead of, something just happening overnight. And then all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people in here. It's been a very slow, gradual buildup, but it's perfect. And the nice thing about that too is that, we've kind of been weeding people out along the way. So even though there's probably more people who would be watching this, but I refuse to talk about, some of the altcoin stuff, which pisses people off. Talked about Trump quite a bit, which pissed some people off, but I don't really care. If there's a lot of other Bitcoin shows out there, and if you don't like what we're talking about, then you can just keep scrolling. So thank you, Parker. Appreciate that. The cold card blackberries are in stock. That's good to know. I saw, Dale, that the Multisig was on the website now. I'd say if you have, I don't know what the threshold for that. I usually say 5 million sats. If you have 5 million sats, you should be looking into a hardware device. That's kind of the threshold, the minimum for that. And I would say that if you have like 50 million sats, I'd say that that's a pretty good threshold in terms of looking into a multisig. You don't have to do it like tomorrow, but I would start looking around. I would start learning about it, getting familiar with it, looking at your options, trying to figure out where you could keep 2 of the other devices. Because you have to keep in mind that you have to have 3 different locations for the multisig to work. You don't want all 3 of them in your house. So I'd say if you got 50 million sats, you should be seriously considering getting a multisig set up for your Bitcoin, for your precious Bitcoin. And actually, one of the starter kits we have with QuickBit is a multisig now. So I'm just going to bring that up real quickly here because I think it is worth mentioning here. It's got the cold card BlackBerry, also known as the cold card Q. And I don't know what's going on here. We're not loading. Site's down, Dale. Maybe there's too much traffic there right now. There we go. Okay, so with this bundle, starter, again, I'd say anybody who has over 5 million sats should be taking a look at this. You get the Jade and you get the Stamp Seed Kit. Beautiful. Very beautiful. $425, use the code 88 sats, you get 15% off of that. But with this one's the multi-sig bundle. So with this, you get the cold card Q. You get all 3 devices. So you get a Q, you get 2 Jades, and you get the Stamp Seed. And it's the same kind of deal for this. If you use the code 88 sats, you get 15% off of that. So Really good deal. And I think that there's an option where you can actually set up an hour or two with me to help you set it up. Maybe that's not worked into that yet, but part of the deal. So that's good news. And I see that somebody zapped 1,000 sats while we were talking about that for the Arnmeister. So thank you, whoever sent that in. I don't think he deserves it today, but we'll let him off the hook. He's usually a very well-behaved dog. I'd really think that he just knows that because I'm on the show right now, he can do whatever he wants out there. Bugger. Okay. I see Plunger's over in the Zap stream as well. We got Bodie there. Plunger says it's going to be 6 degrees Celsius and sunny today. Might go golfing. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that comment. Oh, Bodie said Arnmeister, so that 1,000 sats was from Bodie, I'm guessing. My Path to Fire's over there, and Spaceman. All right, let's get to some mempool. Oh, that's what's going on here. That's what's lagging me. The juxtapose store. Don't have juxtapose.store running if you're doing a live stream or a call with somebody. Okay, where's the mempool here? Can't be screwing around this much in the morning. Hey, look at this. We got Kev. Morning from New Jersey. Try my best to join the live show if work permits. Love the content. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate that, my friend. It's nice to see comments like that. Likes are good, zaps are great, and comments are in the same realm. I love hearing stuff like that, so thank you. We are currently sitting at block height 873219. Ant Pool was the winner of the last block. Friggin' Ant Pool. At least it wasn't Foundry, though. Foundry's the block vacuum. Oh, Arnie's back for more, it looks like. See what more mayhem we can raise this morning, Arn. And Pool, and if you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network today, you're paying right now, not today, 7 sats per VByte. Pretty cheap. Good time to consolidate. Good time to consolidate your UTXOs. And if you don't know what a UTXO is, I strongly recommend you check out the multi-generational wealth course. We've done 5 episodes now, and one of them was on UTXOs. It's a very important part of Bitcoin, and you have to know what you're doing. You don't have to do anything right away, but you have to understand UTXOs, and you have to understand how to manage them properly. Save you a ton of headache in the future and a ton of sats. All right, it looks like we're a little bit ahead right now. 9 blocks ahead, which is I would say, very strong indication, because the last 4 or 5 difficulty adjustments have been upwards, which means that even though they're historically, it's kind of gone up and then come down a little bit, gone up, come down a little bit. But for the last 4 or 5 difficulty adjustments here, they've all been upwards adjustments, and we're still ahead of schedule here, 9 blocks. So that's a very positive sign for the Bitcoin network. Very positive sign. I see another zap came in here. I like this. Duncan says, happy hump day. Oh, I forgot to mention hump day today. 805 sats from Duncan this morning. So thank you for that. Cheers, brother. That's the rules. Forgot to mention the rules today. It is hump day. So if you do plan, if you would like to get a hump in today, the best way to do that would be like the show, send a zap, or leave a nice comment like Kev. Do one of those 3 things and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a zap or a hump in today. Sorry. We get Steve Randall, morning from Texas. Look at that. God bless Texas. Morning from Nebraska. Wow. Leoms, good morning. Andrew says, everyone pick up a BitAxe and start mining. You can see my BitAxe right. Wrong way. Right there. Nice little case for it too. Start mining. You have to. You have to do it. Pan. Are you saying Pam or Pan? Or Pam? Pan says, is 1 Bitcoin enough? Should we stop if we get there or keep going? One Bitcoin is more than enough for one, but you should absolutely not stop. You have to understand that for the rest of your life, you will forever be trading fake money for real money. You will be trading fiat money for Bitcoin forever. You're not going to get to one Bitcoin after everything you've gone through to get it, to the knowledge the time and knowledge you've accumulated, the conviction you have, and then just say, you know what, good enough. I'm going to go back to the stock market. I'm going to start buying NVIDIA shares or Microsoft shares. No. You get to one Bitcoin, then you get to two Bitcoin. Then you just keep getting Bitcoin forever. And the sooner you start, the better, because it's only going to get harder and harder to get. I was looking at Fountain yesterday, and I've been paying a little closer attention to Fountain lately because of the podcast. By the way, if you haven't listened to we've done 5 episodes now of the Potential Project Potential. I always get it wrong. I need to get that shit straight in my brain. Project Potential. But I was listening to somebody clipped one of my original podcasts from like before Project Potential. I still don't know what it is. What is it? Potential Project. Project Potential. Same thing. You can't miss both. You can't mess both up. Project Potential. But somebody clipped one of my original podcasts from before I even was doing a live stream. There's some on there. The podcast was called Beer and Orange Juice. Actually pretty good. There's some good info on there. If you have some time and you want to dig deep into the 88 Sats archives. But I was talking about Apple and how big of a deal Apple is going to be when they enter Bitcoin. Because everybody's been talking about Microsoft. Microsoft's the big new shiny thing in Bitcoin that everybody wants Microsoft to adopt Bitcoin. But Apple is the one we need to be paying attention to. Microsoft seems very hell-bent on not doing this. The CEO didn't want to do it, didn't want to meet with Saylor. The board of directors sent out a thing to the shareholders saying, don't vote for Bitcoin. Apple is the one to watch. Apple is going to be the big difference maker in Bitcoin. Yesterday, we heard that Coinbase, you can now buy Bitcoin on Coinbase using Apple Pay. Huge deal. But it My God, that's annoying. Don't even know where I was. I hate that happens. I hate that happens. But anyways, we gotta remain calm and cheerful here, right? So Apple, let's get back on track here. Apple historically, and if you just start from the very beginning here, look at Apple versus Microsoft. Microsoft does not have phones, and these phones are going to be a huge deal within the Bitcoin world. This is where everything's going to be stored, right? Your wallet, you're going to have your stable coins, your Bitcoin, your MicroStrategy shares, everything's going to be on this phone. You're going to be able to swap back and forth. Everything's going to be tokenized on this phone. Apple does. Apple has all the devices, right? So we're comparing two different things here. I know they're both tech companies, but like Apple is the one we need to be paying attention to. And if you think back about Apple and their history here, you look at Tim Cook. A couple of years ago in an interview on one of the lamestream news channels, he came out and said he owned Bitcoin. Personally, Tim Cook owned Bitcoin. He cannot, he doesn't have the same sort of influence that Michael Saylor has in terms of adopting Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin with Apple. But they're going to get there. And Apple's very methodical in terms of how they do things. They're never the first to do anything, right? They're always the ones who take that technology, take the concept, and make it very easy for people to use. They let people figure it out first. They let the first one through the door always gets shot. Apple's never the first for anything. They always let other people sort out the details, waste a whole bunch of money developing it. And then they take that and they make it very easy for people to use. That's been Apple's strategy for the last couple of decades, and it's been very, very successful. So I think that they're going to do the exact same thing with Bitcoin. Their CEO is a Bitcoiner. There was something, I think it was the white paper, was found on some of the Mac software a couple of years ago. They denied it and said they took it off there. But there's a bunch of things like that have accumulated through the years that make me believe that when the time is right, Apple's just going to go full steam ahead into Bitcoin. And so everybody's paying attention to Microsoft right now. But you have to keep in mind here that Microsoft's CEO does not want Bitcoin. The board of directors told their shareholders to vote against this. It was actually some of the shareholders who got together and, got in touch with Saylor for a 3-minute presentation. Saylor said he would fly anywhere, meet with the CEO and the board. They said no. So they gave Saylor 3 minutes. A guy who made over $10 billion in the last 4 years with this strategy. They gave him 3 minutes. That is absolutely despicable. So, you know what? Somebody asked if we should be buying Microsoft before they adopt. No. Fuck Microsoft. Honestly, they don't deserve to buy Bitcoin. They don't deserve Bitcoin. But keep an eye out for Apple, because Apple's going to be the big one. They're going to move the needle. Microsoft might adopt it. Their share might go up. Who cares? But Apple's going to be the one who moves this thing from a very difficult thing to use to something that a child can pick up and use. That's what Apple does. And that's what they're going to do. They just got to wait for the time to be right. So that's my rant on Apple today. Plunger says, I'm working my way through Project Potential. Great stuff. Very good pointers. Yeah, so that podcast is actually completely different from the show. I intentionally don't talk about things on the show that I'm going to talk about on the podcast. It's very much focused around Bitcoin, like ideas, businesses, opportunities in Bitcoin. I try to keep them about half an hour long. So you can find that. And actually, it would mean a lot to me if you went on to like Spotify and you followed it or subscribed on there. It's free to do. Leave a nice comment and help get this stuff in front of more people. Because I don't really have the same kind of feedback loop as I do here with YouTube in terms of comments, live chat. So I either get it from a boost on Fountain or like a review or somebody following me on Spotify. So if you have been enjoying it, and I want to say thanks to the people who have been sending some boosts on there, including Plunger. Pasty's over there as well. Good morning. Zapstream's doing pretty well this morning. It's good to see. Even though I'm not doing Zapstream any favors with I don't know what's going on with it. But anyways, it's okay. Bitcoin Satan, minus 22 sounds great. Yeah, if you're Arnie. If you got a thick coat of fur and we're made for the outdoors, it is great. But even it was too cold for him this morning. Shitters. ABC212 says, I use paper wallets with offline computer, old school cheap. I mean, that's a good way to do it. And, you can't be too paranoid in Bitcoin. It's my opinion. But at the same time, most people, we're just talking about Apple. There's no way that most people are going to go to that effort of going through that process. Most people are just going to want it on their phone and right in front of them at their convenience. So that's what's going to happen. That's what Apple's going to provide to people. And but I do respect that. Lucas, I'm from Brazil and I really enjoy your videos. I have more Bitcoin Maxi every time I watch you. Well, that's the point of this. It's the point of this channel. And actually the blog that I wrote this morning kind of talked about that. I've been hearing a couple different things about a certain company within Bitcoin. And I just felt like it was my duty and my responsibility to talk about it. I've talked about it on the show before, last week, I think it was, but I had somebody else reach out this morning. And that's what triggered this blog post. So if you are somebody who's in Bitcoin and you're looking to like get help with setting up a device, setting up a node, that kind of stuff, just do your own research on it. Don't just blindly trust companies with a Bitcoin logo and who are promoted on other podcasts. Like this stuff, you have to take this stuff seriously. Not because I don't think they're going to steal Bitcoin, but because they have been absolutely ripping people off. So, the reason I started this channel was for this kind of reason, to be a voice of reason and a voice that people can trust. That was the whole intention of starting this channel. I never had any intention on being a guy with a YouTube channel ever. But it got to the point I was getting calls about people getting scammed. Tens of thousands of dollars in life savings were being ripped away, scammed away from people by faceless scumbags on the internet. And so I said, you know what? I need to get ahead of this. So that's where this channel came from. And I think I've been very consistent with that in the year that I've been doing this. And I just want to focus on Bitcoin because everything else is literally a distraction. Some of it will be useful in the future. I don't know what those things are, but Bitcoin is the best place to store your wealth. And I think that it is the one thing that everybody should be focused on. And I try to portray that in each show every day. Decay, listening from the fiat mines, always a pleasure. Well, good on you, as long as you're converting that fiat that you're mining into Bitcoin. Duchess, not only sending zaps, but sending super chats today. Wow. Cheers to you. I appreciate that. That's a nice tip. And I mean, if you think about it, just think about a couple different examples here of people who work for tips. Because yes, I do make a little bit of money from the YouTube channel here, from revenue, from ads. I don't put any ads on the live shows though, because I don't want to ruin the experience for people. But if you compare somebody like me with like somebody on the street playing a guitar, or who else works for tips? Somebody who cleans your golf clubs after a round of golf, right? And so there's a guy playing a guitar on the street. Obviously, he's put in some time to learn how to play and sing and whatever. And people usually throw a couple bucks in there, maybe some coins, maybe a $5, maybe a $10 bill. And that's for like 3 minutes of a song that they liked. I know there's a little bit of like, they want to just do the right thing. But like I literally sit here for hour and a half, 2 hours every day. And so if you compare like listening to a couple minutes of a song and what you gave to that guy versus sitting here listening to me for an hour and a half every day and what you give to me, very similar to like a guy cleaning golf clubs. And this is from, my own experience in life. But like there's kids and adults who clean your golf clubs after a round at high-end resorts. And without even really thinking about it, they just, scratch off the dirt, rub a cloth over it, and you give them a $5 bill. They did 30 seconds of work there. I know it's just like your mindset and headspace at the time that you feel like you should do that. But then you compare it to somebody sitting here for an hour and a half every single day, talking that you watch, that you learn from and get value from, things like this. And thank you to Duchess and all the people who have been sending in zaps. But, it would be nice if it was a little bit more dispersed, I guess is what I'm saying. Instead of just relying on a couple people to kind of keep this thing going, it'd be nice if it was a little bit more widely dispersed. And I don't talk about this stuff a lot, but it's important because, this is what I'm doing. And, we got to keep the lights on here. So if you have been listening, if you have been enjoying, and I know that it's not everybody can do that. Everybody can't afford to do that. And I get it. But the one thing I would say is if that you can't afford to do that, make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can right now. If you're in a position where you can't send some sats or a super chat or something like that, make sure you're doing everything that you can to earn Bitcoin for free. Like things like ZBD, things like the Fountain app, things like Wavelake. If you're not in a position where you can send somebody value for helping you, then you have to be doing every single thing that you can every day to earn sats. That's your number one priority. And if you're not doing that, then you're fucking up. So it's my, second or third rant of the day today. But anyways, Duchess, thank you. I very much appreciate that. So consider that. Send in a super chat if you've been enjoying it, if you've been learning anything from the show, if you've been getting any value. Send a super chat, sign up as a Bitcoin Journeyman, or join the Living in the Future or send a zap. Kev says, which were the Bitcoin lending platforms that you mentioned last show that you think are solid and or recommended? Obviously not going to borrow against my Bitcoin, but to keep in mind for the near future. One of them was Salt. I think it was Salt. And I haven't used them. I've just heard good things about them. So I can't really recommend without trying them myself, but it was a person that I trust. I forget who it was, but they were talking about Salt lending. I'm going to see if I can find them. Daniel. Daniel topped up the Zap stream for me. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Daniel is one of the other guys that's been pulling the weight of funding the show. So thank you, Daniel. I very much appreciate it. Salt Bitcoin lending. There you go. Salt lending. Saltlending.com. Loans backed by crypto. Don't sell your crypto, borrow against it. Kind of cool. So you can start with $5,000, 12-month terms, borrow up to 70% LTV and 0% prepayment fees. Something to try. And again, you can't even see it on here. Again, I've never used them. I cannot personally vouch for them, but the person that was talking about them is somebody I trust in the Bitcoin space. So take that how you want to. Morning from California, Harnish. We're not all a-holes. I know that. I've met some really good people from California, actually. And I've helped some people in the last couple of weeks from California get set up with a cold card or a hardware device. $1.52, what if NVIDIA got involved? I mean, great. But NVIDIA is not going to, I don't know the company well enough. I don't know their business operations and their strategy and how everything works. I just know they're an AI company. So, I don't think that they would have the same kind of impact as Apple would. I think Apple is going to be the one that really moves the needle. But if NVIDIA starts buying with their cash, then of course it would be helpful. I agree with Randall here. Let Microsoft buy it at $500K. And $1.52 says I have zero Microsoft stuff in my house. That's what I mean. Like, we can't just be automatically friends with everybody who is thinking about buying Bitcoin. Like, founded by Bill Gates. Look at this. This is why this stuff is so important. And thanks for sharing this, Dale. Dale's got boots on the ground. The only brick and mortar shop in Canada that I'm aware of, Bitcoin shop, brick and mortar. But Dale says, we assisted a client last week to consolidate 47 UTXOs into one UTXO. Transaction fee was $60, which would be about 60 or 70,000 sats just to send one single transaction. So that's what you want to avoid. That's what you want to avoid. That's why you want to, obviously you're here right now. You're trying to learn about this kind of stuff. This is why I do the show, to prevent stuff like this from happening. I went through this myself. I think we spent, it was 150,000 sats, maybe even 200,000 sats consolidating UTXOs, because we were doing weekly buys from ShakePay, sending it to the wallet. Every time that happens, that creates one new UTXO. And if you think about UTXOs just like a bunch of data, that's all it is. Every UTXO is just more data. And because there's only so much space in each Bitcoin block, the more data you have in your transaction, the more it's going to cost you. Very simple. Simple, but also hard if you're not really familiar with everything. But that's how it works. Every Bitcoin transaction is just data. The Bitcoin blockchain, just data. So you have to be paying attention to this stuff. Otherwise, you're going to pay a shitload of money in the future. So thanks for sharing that, Dale. Nautilus. I remember reading the white paper on Bitcoin back in the day. As a computer scientist, I was intrigued. The future price of Bitcoin was related to a formula. Yes. It's all a formula. Okay, so anyways, the relevant part was the formula was related to N, the number of nodes on the network, users. Once all Apple phone users are using Bitcoin, boom. Exactly. Exactly. It's exactly what I'm saying here. Thanks for sharing that. Nate says, thank you, Jor. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Eddie said, made the live again. And Booster says, discovered your... Welcome, Eddie. Welcome to another live show. You never know what you're going to get here. You never know what's going to happen on this show. Some days we rant. Some days Arnie breaks some stuff in the background. Oh, we got some zaps. So my rant on value for value must have struck a chord with somebody there. Somebody sent in 10,000 sats. So thank you. And again, I don't love talking about that kind of stuff, but it is the reality for me. And so I think it is worth talking about once in a while. So thank you to whoever sent 10,000 sats. Thank you for that. And if you, the other thing I was going to say there is if you have a song request, if you want to request a song, 10,000 sat zaps automatically get to request a song in the next show. So just send in one sat the next zap and tell me what song you'd like to hear if you want to. But if not, I appreciate that. So we got 1,000 sats from somebody else saying, love your content, brother. Thank you. And another 1,000 sats from Duchess. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Booster says, I discovered your channel a week ago and decided to start stacking Bitcoin. I'm behind, but better late than never. Yeah. I mean, the beauty of this show is we do it every single day. You're going to get exposure to a bunch of different things, some news. I try to really dig deep into some things that a lot of people gloss over in terms of the Bitcoin basic stuff. Because I know that there's been people for over a year now who watch this show. And so I definitely try to cater to them. But I also understand where we are right now and who's watching the show, which is a lot of people who are just getting into Bitcoin. So I try to keep a nice balance there. That's why the show has been from day one for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners or new Bitcoiners. So good to see. And one thing, if you're in a position like this, like Booster is, honestly, consider joining the Living the Future community, because you're going to learn more from just, even if you're just a fly on the wall in there, in the chat, you're going to pick up on things. You're going to get good resources. You're going to find people you can trust. I think that is invaluable information at that stage in the game. So if you want to join that, at the top of the show notes, it says Living in the Future, join. I think it's the second one down. But just try it out for a while. You can always cancel. You can do 7 days for free. Get in the chat, start talking to people, start asking questions. It is the most helpful and knowledgeable community, I think, in Bitcoin. Maybe aside from like Andre Antonopoulos' community, but like I'd put it right up there for $5 a month. That's what you get. Pretty solid investment, in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about something here. I'd like 20 things to talk about. So far, we've talked about 0. 43 minutes into this thing. I did want to talk about Apple, but that's why I was a little bit late today too. I was thinking of all the things I want to talk about on the show. Daniel says, what's the name of the potential project on Fountain? That's a good question, man. Because I use the same RSS feed. You should be able to type in the Daily Bitcoin Journey on there and find it. I will put the show, I will actually add it right now. I will add it right now. Somebody send 10 sats. Look at that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will put it in there right now, actually, because it is a little bit difficult. It's hard enough to find things on Fountain as it is, but never mind when the show, has a different name than what it's actually called. So Daniel, I'm actually going to just copy this link and paste it into the Zap stream right now. And then you can just follow them on. Oh, I thought I muted my Path to Fire again. That would have been the second time I did that in my life. Oh, I might have done it. I did do it. My Path to Fire, I've muted you again by accident. How do I find you now? Oh no, how did I do this before? That's unbelievable. Okay, there we go. He's in the chat. Unmuted. Okay, and for doing it again, I'm going to send you a zap. Because that was the second time I muted you on there. There we go. So you're unmuted and you got 69 sats for the treble. Okay, so that I just shared that link there for Daniel in the Zap stream. So if you want to jump over there and grab it, or I will also add it to the show notes here right now. I'm going to do this now because I'm going to forget otherwise. So if you're interested in checking out the podcast, you can find it in the show notes. I'm going to put it right at the top of this one. The potential project potential. 3 P's. I don't know what the hell it is. Project potential. But the reason I called it project potential is a couple reasons. I love the idea of the potential. And if you look at what stored energy is, if you look at like the name for stored energy, it's called potential energy, which means that the energy has been created, but it hasn't been used yet. And it's stored. That's the potential energy there. And I think that Bitcoin is the best place to store that potential energy. Bitcoin is the best battery that exists for storing that time, energy, and value. So that's Bitcoin part of it. But I also think that the fiat world has done a really intentional and good job of stomping people down. Since it's existed, since we gave a small group of people the ability to print money, the fiat system has done a very good job of keeping people down. And I think that Bitcoin is actually going to be a huge unlock for people, for businesses, for countries. And that's why I call it project potential, because it unlocks people's potential. So it's pretty clever. Pretty clever name, but hard to find apparently. So I just added that to the top of the show notes there, and you should be able to find it on there. Check it out. 5 episodes now. I've been doing it every day. I don't know if I'm going to get to do one today or not, but I'm going to do it a couple times per week. Podcast only. All right, what else we got going on here in the chat? Oh, Jason, look at that. Skip forward a few messages here from our guy, Jason, who's in the chat every single day. Every day. I don't remember an episode where Jason wasn't in the chat saying good morning. So thank you, Jason. Super chat $13.99. Appreciate your passion, consistency, and message. I appreciate that, Jason. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll get through a couple more. We'll catch up on the chats, and then I want to talk about something that's happening here in the world. Bitcoin Satan says, can you explain why going into debt is good ever? Seems very fiat minded. I mean, I'm definitely under the same theory. I subscribe to the same theory as what's his name, Robert Kiyosaki, in terms of actually using debt to your advantage. And when he wrote his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it was focused around the real estate market. So what he said is you take some money, you buy some real estate, you get some equity in the house, maybe you do some improvements on it, maybe you just wait a little while, you take that, you refinance it, you buy another one. You don't pay any tax on that. And then you keep doing that, you keep building up equity in these different houses, you go back to the bank and refinance them, use that equity, buy another house. So you're never paying tax on it. You're never disposing anything. And when you take on debt in an efficient way, when you're actually using it for productive and appreciating assets, then it can be useful. And I think if you apply that same kind of strategy to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's the new version of that. It worked for real estate for a long time, but that comes with a lot of headaches as well. So you can replicate that. You can do the exact same thing, rich dad, poor dad strategy, but using Bitcoin instead. So that's what I'd say. And you have to pay attention to a couple of things. One is the length of the loan. If it's like 1 or 2 years, that's when you can get into trouble. So try to go for like 5-10 years, and make sure you pay attention to the rates too. You don't want to go like the credit card route where you're paying 19, 29, 39% interest. That's going to destroy you. So if you can find a long-term loan with somewhat reasonable rates and use that to buy appreciating assets like real estate or Bitcoin, then you're going to come out ahead, because it's very simple to figure out the spread there, right? Because you're paying about, say, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10% interest on the debt on the loan, and you have an asset that's appreciating historically at about 50 or 60% per year. So that difference there is where you make the profit. That's why it makes sense to do that. Other than that, horrible. Don't get into debt to buy fucking new sneakers or new golf clubs or new car even. I mean, car is a little bit different, but as soon as you drive it off the lot, it drops by about half in value. So a car, a vehicle would not be one of the appreciating assets that Robert Kiyosaki talked about. Duncan said, Jack Mallers is looking to integrate a lending option for Strike at some point. I mean, it makes sense. It makes so much sense. And this is just hearsay. This is just hearsay from the Daily Bitcoin Journey. But you know, we might have something like that coming in Canada here soon, and I would love to be involved in it. It just makes so much sense to me. Not so much like the $5,000 loans and the $2,000 loans, but more like the attaching it to a house, like with a mortgage. So I'm in the very early stages with a couple people here in Canada to offer something like that, because we talked about that a couple weeks ago on the show and how popular that's going to be. So I think that it just makes sense that why would we let somebody else do it? Why not us? Raven, another guy from Texas, or girl, but that's it. DXY says, how many sats to hear you sing live? I would sing a song that I choose, though, for 100,000 sats. I would do karaoke on a live stream, but I get to choose this. I get to choose the song. And don't fucking do it either. Matt, good morning. Good to see you. Morning, team. All right. Daniel says there's at least 3 podcasts with similar names to Project Potential. You're right, though. Search for Daily Bitcoin Journey. There you go. Bodhi says, I don't, that's a lie. Says, I don't zap enough. That's a lie, Bodhi. That rant I did was definitely not directed to you. I would say you're one of the people who have been carrying the load around here. Look at that. Nick says, I took my first rent payment in Bitcoin today. What a rush. Wow. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love to see, because it just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And so, I mean, if you do still have real estate, whether if you're a landlord, like, that's something that I would be doing. If I still had my rental house, I would put it in the ad for people, discount for paying in Bitcoin. And then you're going to find Bitcoiners. Not only are you going to get paid in Bitcoin, but you're actually going to find people who, in my opinion, have a much different mentality, a much different attitude towards things. And I would say a better one. If I had the choice between, forget the payment, but if I had the choice between a Bitcoiner and a non-Bitcoiner to rent my house, I would definitely choose the Bitcoiner. I just know their mentality. I know how they think. I know that we are aligned with certain things. So not only are you earning the best currency that's ever existed, but you have a better, in my opinion, a better person living in your house. BNB mooning. Woohoo. BNB might as well be the CAD. I shouldn't say that. Is that the Binance coin? I wouldn't buy it, but I mean, teach their own, right? Mercy Me, good morning, Jor. Have a blessed day. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mercy Me. It's good to see you again in here. Okay, so what I want to talk about right now is I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you a few things. And I got to be careful what I say because this is a live show. This is on YouTube. And I very much value my channel. So I'm just going to show you a couple things here. And I'm going to let you decide what you think. It's going to be like a little mini show and tell. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to show it. But let's get to the history here. No, that's not what I want. Okay, so what this is going to be about is a post yesterday. A post and a little bit of news. We actually talked about this on the show yesterday. But let's start with this. Let's start with this. Okay, so again, I'm not going to say anything. We're just going to watch it. Do you see the title of this video? The Queen shows Donald Trump where to walk during the inspection of the guard. So did that look like Trump was showing her where to walk? Okay, so that's the first part. That is the first part. I don't think he was showing her where to walk there. Although that's how they spun it. I don't think that that's what was happening there. Okay, let's check out something else here. Bring this up. See that? Trump to Pope Francis after Vatican meeting. I won't forget what you said. Look at that picture. Look at that picture. Okay, so that's another one. All right. So yeah, yesterday or in the last couple of days, we watched a video. And I'll just bring it up quickly because it's only 20 seconds long here. And I'll start to explain what the hell I'm talking about here. Because you might be a little bit confused. But that's okay. Let's watch this one.
And tonight we're getting some new details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor. Right.
But more on that detail with the panel.
Okay, I don't know if you know quite where I'm going with this whole thing, but it might start making some sense right away. And I'm just going to share one last thing here. Oh, it looks like it's very laggy here. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but anyways, I'm going to show this right here too. The last piece of the puzzle. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump shares an artificial intelligently created photo on Truth Social of him overlooking a mountainside with a Canadian flag waving. Okay, so again, I'm not going to get too far down the rabbit hole here, but for the people who are living in the future, a couple months ago we watched about a 45-minute documentary on this. It didn't have anything to do with Canada, but Canada is very much directly tied to the Queen, the royal family, the Magna Carta, right? And so the documentary that we watched, it focused on three things: Washington, D.C., Rome, the Vatican, and Buckingham Palace in London. So those three things have historically been, of course, in a little pyramid, but those three things have historically ran the world for the last 100 beyond years. And so you saw how Trump treated the Queen there. That was not intentional, or that was intentional. That was not happenstance. He wasn't showing her where to walk there. He walked right in front of her and stopped, and she was lost behind him. But that was intentional. Trump went to the Vatican a couple of days later, met with Pope Francis. Did you see his face in that picture? And we know how Donald Trump feels about Washington, D.C. So what's been coming out here with Trump, with Canada, with everything around the tariffs, the borders, the 51st state, this picture of Trump with a Canadian flag, I really don't think that it's just all a coincidence. I really don't. And I could be wrong about that. This is just my opinion. But from what I've seen, like, Trump doesn't really share anything without purpose. And unless you've been really paying attention to the things that he does and says and the words that he uses, then you might miss this. And you might think that this is just all a joke, like CTV does. The title of this interview, or that news piece, was called "Trump Making a Joke." Trump is making a joke about Canada becoming the 51st state. So that, to me, I mean, from my experience in the last couple of years here, whatever the news says, I usually assume the exact opposite to be true. So if they say it's a joke, if they say he was showing the Queen where to walk, if they said, "I'll never forget what you said to the Pope," I automatically assume that the opposite is true of that. So I don't know what's going to happen. But the one thing the other thing I wanted to mention with that too is that when Tucker Carlson came here to Canada, I think he was in Alberta, might have been BC, but he did a sellout show. The Liberals lost their mind. They were trying to get Tucker deported and banished from Canada for spreading misinformation. But Tucker said that he said these exact words: "We're coming to liberate Canada." He didn't say "we're here." Like, he didn't say it like metaphorically, like "we're here to liberate Canada." He said, "We're coming to liberate Canada." And I don't know about you, but I think that Tucker and Trump are fairly aligned and fairly running in the same circles. I mean, Tucker spoke at a lot of his rallies when he was in the process of running for president. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. It makes so much sense to me. And I know that there's going to be a whole bunch of Canadians with Trump derangement syndrome who think that this is going to be like a nightmare for them. But if you really think about it, if you compare like the US Constitution to the laws that we have, we're still under like British Crown rule here in Canada, which is insane. But Canadians' lives, the only thing that they would notice is everything would be a lot cheaper. There wouldn't be this tariff bullshit, sending energy back and forth. We could actually utilize our natural resources that we have here in Canada and in the US. And if everybody was working towards the same goal and you had an adult in the room, this would be the new powerhouse of the world for sure. Like without even, I don't think anybody would deny that. The amount of natural resources and energy that we have here that has not been tapped into and it has not been run properly is off the charts. So not only would everything get cheaper, not only would the energy be unlimited, abundant, and turn us into a prosperous country again, but we would have way more rights. You look at the Constitution compared to ours. Like ours was completely trampled on during the pandemic. Completely. They made it into a joke. So the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all of these rights that Americans have would flow into Canada. Like it just makes so much sense. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do really believe that there is a purpose behind the surprise Mar-a-Lago meeting between Trump and Trudeau, that Trump intentionally put Trudeau right beside him at the table. And I think it was Howard Lutnick that shared the picture of them, but it was Howard Lutnick, Trudeau, Trump. And again, everything that he does has a purpose. And if you hear that and you don't believe me, that's okay. You haven't spent enough time listening to his rallies, listen to his speeches, the clips. If you actually listen to what he says and look at the posts that he makes, everything is for a purpose. And he wouldn't just share a picture of him standing on a mountain with a Canadian flag right beside him just for fun. So again, I'm very excited to see where this leads. I think it would be the best thing that could ever happen to Canada, personally. And I know that there would be a lot of people who disagree with that, but that's okay. If they have an opinion that they disagree with me on that, then they can just start their own channel. That's the beauty of it. So that's kind of what I want to talk about in terms of my opinion. Again, and hopefully I don't get in any sort of trouble for saying that kind of stuff and talking about it. But the one thing I am going to do here, and I see Bodie's pumping up the Living in the Future. Says, Raven, consider joining us in the Living in the Future community. Freaking amazing learning experience. I've literally learned tons. So there you go. You have a firsthand review. What do you call those? Not a review, but I don't know. Firsthand. But the other thing I'm going to do after today is I'm actually going to share that documentary that I was talking about. It's about 45 minutes long, but it goes back and looks at the first couple of weeks of Trump's presidency in 2016 that nobody knew was happening. He went to Rome, he went to London, he went to Saudi Arabia, he went to Israel. He did a full tour, and there was a lot of things that happened on that tour that nobody has a clue about. And so this documentary kind of talks about it. Then it goes into the Vegas shooting and the what happened behind the scenes there. And then what followed from that in terms of bin Salman, like the crown prince, in terms of the other Saudis being herded up and put into a hotel room and all arrested. And this is not like just conspiracy theory stuff. This stuff all happened. There's video evidence of it. It was reported in the media, but nobody really spun it in a way. And they spun it in a way where it was meaningless. And the Vegas shooting, and then what followed from that after bin Salman was there, and what they did after that in terms of Apple, Twitter, Microsoft, Google, YouTube. It's fascinating. And you might watch it. I've watched it like 10 times now. You might watch it and think, this is too insane to be true. But it's not just somebody telling a story. It's actual media clips of what happened. And then, of course, they tell, what really went on there. So all the things happen, and you can believe it or not. I mean, it's not going to change anything going into the future here. But consider doing that. Consider joining, even if again, this is not about, trying to rope you into the community here. You can join it. You can get that link. You can watch it today and then cancel it. I don't care. But I really want you to open your mind up here to what could be coming. And again, whether you know it or not, it's not going to change anything in the future. But me personally, and I think that you'd be the same watching the show, I like to know what's going on. It pays to pay attention. And that's what honestly led me into Bitcoin, was that whole thing. So I would not be sitting here today. I would not have a show or a channel or talking to any of you if I had not watched that documentary and I had not made the ties, connected the dots between that and Bitcoin. That's the truth. That's the truth with a little bit of cheese on it. Alan says, Binance is a casino and the house always wins. Yeah, I mean, I have no issues with the BNB coin. I really don't. If you think that Binance, like they're a huge company, they're a huge player in the Bitcoin and crypto space. And that token is kind of like the value of their company. I know that there's a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes and I wouldn't invest in it myself, but I think that it is a better coin than a lot of the other ones out there, personally. Daniel says, that's awesome. I wish I could pay my rent in Bitcoin. The problem is, what do you pay? The spot price on the day you're paying? And it looks like, oh, the grinder's here. My man, the grinder. I haven't seen him. Actually, he was here yesterday, but I haven't seen him for a while before that. It says, Daniel, the foreign exchange rate on that day. Makes sense. I mean, you could probably negotiate that with your landlord, whether you want to do like a floating balance of or floating average of the prior month, or if you want to do the spot price that day. But I mean, it'll probably depend on who who said it or what the terms are. Jess says, now is the time to sell your house, put it in Bitcoin and rent for the next couple of years. It looks like there's some people doing that. Daniel, maybe Grinder, whoever it was in the chat. I think it was Nick. I don't disagree with that. So let's I know we're over time again, and I know we're doing a second part of the show here, but I think there are some things that are worth talking about right now. So we'll take some extra time here. But Josh says, I think you're right, Jets, but rent is sometimes more than most payments, mortgage payments, especially where I live. The housing is in short supply, and that's shitty. The one thing I'd say to this is I know that, Josh, I agree with you. It is. It's depending on where you are, depending on what country, what city you're in, rent can be insane. And it does feel like a waste of money. You're just paying somebody else to live in their house. But at the same time, you have so much more flexibility with that. And if you really look at mortgages, and if you look at how they're structured, most people think they're paying $500,000 for a house, when in reality, if they actually end up paying that mortgage out, they probably pay the same amount or more in interest. So a $500,000 listing is actually about $1 million or $1.1 million at the end of the day after you pay interest on that. If you get a mortgage, I mean, if you got cash or equity in another house, that's different. But not many people do that. Most people, if they have equity, they just trade up and buy a fancier house, bigger house. So the one thing I'd say is, like, going back to what Jets said here and tying this whole thing, together, is that I would say that if you don't love where you are, if you're like just living in it, if you own a house and you don't really know if you want to live there, work there forever, then yeah, I would say absolutely sell your house. Or the other thing you could do is refinance it. And kind of what I was talking about a little while ago of a new service that's coming to Canada, maybe, is you can actually refinance your house, buy Bitcoin, top up the mortgage to the value, buy Bitcoin with that, and then you have Bitcoin and the house. And I really do believe that banks will be the last to adopt this. And I think that there's going to be some private companies. There's already one in the US doing this, but it makes so much more sense. And I'm going to save this discussion for another day in terms of why it makes so much sense. But yeah, there's a lot to tap into there. Anyone see that Grant Cardone is going to offer a real estate Bitcoin fund? There's going to be a ton of that. It just makes so much sense. Yeah. Scotty says it said she showed him where to walk. Yeah, that's how the media spun it. Alan says, call me crazy, but I think Trump has a sincere smile. I think it's very sincere. And if you actually talk to anybody who's met Trump and actually interacted with Trump, they would say that he's the most sincere guy that they've ever met. So I do see the sincerity there, but I also know that is very purposeful. I know that he was smiling like that. Like that was if you looked at the picture with the Pope, like that was a much bigger smile than he usually has. And I know that that was, again, intentional. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But after everything I've seen play out over these last 4 years, you know, I have a hard time believing that it's just all smoke and mirrors to me. Monarchy and Catholic Church are some of the worst institutions in existence. 100%. Yeah, I know. I think that was just kind of a way for Trump to get it into the news without appearing as though he was going to like do a hostile takeover of Canada. You know, you can be the governor, but we know. Yeah, and this is very true, ABC. They want our Northwest Passage money. There's so much resources and unlocked energy up north, and the Northwest Passage is a big one too. But if you tie the natural resources here in Canada up north, and you combine that with Bitcoin mining, and you combine that with an adult in the room who knows what you can do with that, everything changes. Everything changes. And I really believe that that's where we're going to. Hey, Guillaume says, I still don't understand how over-the-counter Bitcoin purchases doesn't affect the price on exchanges. Supplies are obviously low right now. Feels to me that Bitcoin is undervalued and price might be manipulated. I agree with that. I really do. I really believe that there's some sketchy things happening in Bitcoin right now, and I don't know who it is, where it is, and what to blame it on, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. But so I think that this is either going to play out in two different ways here. I think that we're either going to learn that some of these exchanges, some of these big Bitcoin institutions have been lying about how much Bitcoin they actually have, and it's going to cause a very short-term crash, just like FTX did. It's essentially what happened. They had paper Bitcoin. They didn't have any Bitcoin on their books. They were selling Bitcoin. They were buying a whole bunch of shit coins or altcoins, and they got exposed, and the price crashed. So that could happen. And it was never really, you know, nobody really saw it for what really happened there, was that Bitcoin is way more scarce than we were led to believe. That's what actually happened there. They had zero Bitcoin. Or I think that somehow there's going to be some sort of trigger or something happens where people really see how few Bitcoin there are out there. And it is kind of unfortunate, the fact that some of these exchanges, the micro strategies, they don't have to report. They don't have to show proof of reserves, but it's coming. So either we'll get there the hard way or the easier way, but it is going to come out. And I saw some comments yesterday on one of the videos. We were talking about how few Bitcoin there are out there and how the exchanges and over the counters are running out. And they're like, yeah, we've heard this for the last couple of years. Play a new song. And I'm like, I don't think people really understand how scarce it is. I really don't think. And I think that the amount of Bitcoin that are available are being significantly overstated. And I think that the amount of paper Bitcoin out there is being very well kept. And I don't know what exposes it. I don't know how that happens, but I do think it has to happen one way or the other. And when that happens, I think there's going to be a lot of very fast movement upwards. US loves Canada. I think most people do. Trump is the chosen one. I do think that there's something there. I think that there's a lot more happening behind the scenes that anybody knows of, including myself. But Kev says, by the way, any advice explaining the value of Bitcoin to an older person? The other day, someone asked me the way they want to learn about Bitcoin, but they got hung up on Bitcoin is not backed by anything. I mean, it is a tough question because, you know, you go down that road of like what it's actually backed by. It's backed by the Bitcoin network, right? And to me, that has much more significance and relevance than some Federal Reserve and a bunch of people, a bunch of guys in suits deciding where the money goes and how much money is created. This is a network. There's 20,000 people out there, but it's not worth doing to an older person. I don't think that's where you start with. The older people that I have somewhat, talked about Bitcoin with, it's been more along the lines of cash and more along the lines of hiding it from the government and more along the lines of being able to hop on an airplane with 12 words in your head and land and still have that Bitcoin that nobody can really take from you. Nobody can seize from you, because the older generation has been through a lot of different things. They've seen many different governments, many different things, world events that trigger things. And so they're much more, even though they've been brainwashed for a lot of years, they understand that the governments probably don't have our best intentions in mind. So the conversations that have worked for me is like a lot of older people keep cash under their mattress. And the one thing I said to this older person when I was talking to them about Bitcoin was like, think about cash under your mattress, which is great. It's untraceable for the most part. It's well hidden. It's away from the government. Nobody knows you have it. But if something happened in your country, and this is becoming more and more like relevant for people in Canada, but you say, if something happened to your country and you had to leave, what do you do with that money? You can't put it in a bank account. You can't take it on an airplane. You can't cross a border with it. What are you supposed to do? And then you say, with Bitcoin, even though it's a little bit more work to get in that spot, you can take those 12 or 24 words, hop on an airplane, wherever you want to go to, you land and you restore that into a wallet and it's yours. So again, whether it's an older person or whoever it is you're talking to about Bitcoin, you really have to come at it from their point of view, not yours, right? You have to understand what it's important to them. You have to understand their view of the world, what makes them tick, I guess. And it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy thing to do. So just don't get discouraged with that. American Desperado, good morning. Diego, good morning, good morning. All right, yeah, I agree with this, Duchess. Backed by computation, but that might be hard to explain to an older person. That's what I said. Like, I don't think you need to bother with that. All right, Eden says lots of Bitcoin moving off the exchanges. People are waking up. Holy, my balance is low again. Give me a sec here. We're running low. Need to pay our rent over on the Zap stream. If you are watching on Zap stream, consider zapping the show. It doesn't show up on the screen right now, but it still shows up in the wallet, so it gets there. All right. Come on. I don't know why this isn't scanning. Huh. I don't know. Won't let me scan it. There we go. All right. Oh, we got too many comments here to catch up on. I'm sorry. Bodhi says, what I noticed in the Queen and Trump video is that she urged him to walk in front of her. Not sure, but I think that was unprecedented. Definitely something there. 100%. Like that shows. And if you remember the clip of like Trump walking into the NATO conference and there was like a couple people in front of him and he went out of his way to like get to the front. He literally pushed them out of the way. And the media, of course, had a heyday with that. They're like, this guy's such a dick. Who acts like this? But he was showing power. He was showing who's in charge. And I really think that was the exact same case with the Queen and walking in front of her. No, from what I understand, nobody's ever done that before. And they talked about that a little bit in the documentary that I was speaking of. But it's definitely, not just a coincidence. Raven says, I wouldn't be in Bitcoin unless for a friend that passed away on Tuesday. He will be dearly missed. Well, I mean, Yeah, that's horrible. And, you know, there's been a lot of that stuff happening lately, and it is sad. It's very sad. You never, you know, I hate talking about this stuff on the show because I don't like getting emotional, but it definitely, and there's some people in the chat here, condolences. That's shitty. Very sad to hear that. Sorry. I can't get through all these comments here today. Sharon says, but my family's property have made more in equity than any other asset. Yeah. That's probably before Bitcoin existed. Probably before Bitcoin existed. Knox Bill. Cheers. Raven, don't ever have any serious amount of Bitcoin sitting on a ledger. Ever. Just don't. And I don't have time to explain it. Just don't do it. So if you need help, all my information is in the show notes. You can contact me. I'll find somebody. If I can't help you, somebody will. But get it off the ledger as soon as you can. Don't lose sleep over it, but just take actionable steps to get it off there. Look at this, Captain Codeman. I explained Bitcoin to a 96-year-old. He thought it was fascinating. Already gave his grandkids some. They're also fascinated with it, learning about money and inflation, 8 and 10. That a boy. That a boy. Grinder says, Kev009, Bitcoin is backed by the most secure computing network on the planet. The dollar is backed by debt. Bingo. Grinder gets it. Grinder gets it for sure. Dutch says, I'm getting my goddaughter into Bitcoin slowly. She's 15 but smart, and her mom is being orange pilled by proxy. There you go. That's what we want. That's what we need. Mike says, where do you recommend? I just bought a ledger for $250. I've seen that Ledger Trezor had record sales in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, it just makes me sick. I mean, it's probably safe. Like, don't get me wrong. The chances of you losing your Bitcoin on Ledger are probably low, but you know, when you're dealing with the greatest asset that has ever existed, you want to make sure that you have the best security for that. You want to make sure that you put the time and money into investing into securing that. You have to secure your Bitcoin better than a bank secures money. You have to. And again, I've said this several times in the last couple of weeks, but I really want to drive it home because banks have insurance. They lose your money, they can get it back. They can print more money, or the insurance company will get it to them. They're dealing with other people's money. You're dealing with yours. There's no insurance on your Bitcoin yet. And the third one is what? What's the third one there? I say this a lot, but I still get tripped up on live. What's the third one? Oh yeah, the banks are dealing with fake money. You're dealing with the greatest asset that has ever existed. So you have to protect your Bitcoin just as or more than a bank protects their money. So think about that. Think about what the banks have for security. They got Brinks trucks, security cameras, security guards, a ton of investment into that to protect fake money. You have to be taking this stuff seriously. So the one thing I would say, if you just bought a ledger and spent $250 on it, like perfect, that's your decoy wallet now. Go to the link at the top of the show notes here. Get yourself one of these. This does not connect to the computer. It's all done through QR codes. This never touches the internet or the laptop. And you get a nice stamp seed to put it all on, just in case something happens to your house, water, fire, and use the code 88SATS, save 15% off of that. Very quick shipping, no import fees depending on where you live, and you can call and talk to somebody if you have any issues with it. So get that, keep your ledger, use it as a decoy wallet. Tangent, I would say the exact same. Probably fine, but why risk it? Why risk it? Work save Bitcoin. I mean, you know, these are the kind of comments that bother me, honestly. And I know it's been a long show, so maybe I'm a little bit agitated right now. But Bitcoin, your name is Work Save Bitcoin. The whole premise in Bitcoin, everything stems from proof of work, from the very basic level. So if you're hearing this, you watch my show, you trust what I'm saying, you know, if you want to set up a call with me and pay me for this time, you can. But don't try to sit there and make me, and you know, after an hour and a half for free watching this, try to pry answers out of me. Like do the work yourself. And I don't mean to be a dick here, but you got to do the work yourself. If you want to figure out why ledgers aren't as good as a cold card or a jade, you know, look into it a little bit. And I can't cater to everybody here. I'm trying my best, and I would just appreciate, you know, if you understood kind of the situation here a little bit. So with that, and I agree with Captain Codeman here. Always good to have more than one hardware wallet anyways. I mean, ledgers historically, there's been a bunch of issues with them. I don't love the fact that they plug into a USB port. And again, I don't know if there's anything there or not. I just don't want to risk it. Ledger Live, it's on the internet. Everything's hot. And I don't know the whole background there, but I just don't trust it. And Ledger has pushed through a few updates through the years where, you know, it wasn't in their customers' best interests. So they're also not open source. There's 5 points right there. I mean, that's a pretty good start for you. So with that, we're going to go over to the second part of the show. And where did I see that? Josh says, please post that documentary. I'm gonna post that in the Living in the Future feed today. So if you want to check that out, I was going to watch it today, but I was, you know, we ran out of time. Obviously, we've been going for an hour and a half here. And I want to talk, we're going to do the part six of the multi-generational wealth course over there right now. Robert says, how do you send zaps? How to send you zaps? Good question. You can send some here. There's also my lightning address in the show notes. It's knggolf at Wallet of Satoshi, knggolf at Wallet of Satoshi. But you can just send some to Arnie too. You can scan the QR code there, or there's his address right there. So again, I don't mean to be a dick here, and I hope that didn't come off the wrong way. But you know, if you're actually worried about it, then take some time, do your own research, and try to figure out why it's better to store Bitcoin on a product like Cold Card or Jade versus a ledger. Hey, Sergio's in the chat. Morning, Sergio. And FC Mobile. Greetings from brother Brazil. All right. So we're going to hop over there. If you want to join, you can either join as a Bitcoin Journeyman through the main channel here, main page, or you can go to the show notes. It says join Living in the Future. We're going to hop over there right now. And I'm going to give where is it? There's about 10 or 12 different things I want to talk about in terms of best practices for Bitcoiners. So, you know, I think it's, even if you signed up for 1 month and you just wrote down these 10 things or 12 things and kept those on a piece of paper, just, you know, just for good practice. That's what this one's going to be called, is best practices for Bitcoin, for security, for key management, for just general rules in Bitcoin, I think, that are important to talk about. So this is going to be relevant for people who are brand new to Bitcoin, somewhat knowledgeable, and of course, just in case there's some seasoned Bitcoiners out there, you might learn a thing or two. We're going to be talking about. I'll save it. So if you want to join us, Living in the Future, it should show up on the top part of the feed, and you can just keep the party going. You should be able to click a YouTube link, and it'll take you to the second part of the show. So, Duchess says, I know in the US you can self-custody Bitcoin in the IRA, but I have not done it myself, near the top of my to-do list. Yeah, I mean, if you have stuff in your IRA or investment account, like that's where I would look at MicroStrategy. something like that, or a Bitcoin ETF. But I would lean towards MicroStrategy. And we've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks here. So if you want more info on that, you can just go back and check it out. So thank you once again for everybody who sent in some super chats today, Jason, Duchess, and everybody who sent in some zaps for the show today. So with that, we'll catch you tomorrow. Sorry to end on kind of a sour note there, but just kind of get tired of it. Get tired of people. You know, it's a YouTube channel. It's my channel. It's free for people to watch. And we still have people like, you know, either bitching about it or saying I need to explain more things. So have a great day, everybody. I really hope you join us on the second part, and we'll see you over there, or we'll see you tomorrow or Friday. I'm not too sure yet. But anyways, bye-bye.